14 years. It took them 14 years to give us a sequel to The Incredibles. And what did we get for our patience? A pretty incredible follow-up. Honestly, I don't know if I could call Incredibles 2 better than the original because the newness of the first one is hard to beat, but this is definitely a worthy sequel. I mean, we have the Pars. 5 superheroes, but they're a family. Now, obviously, this is not the first super family we've seen. After all, there was the Fantastic Four. Not the awful movies, but rather the awesome comic books and cartoons. They paved the way for the super family that would, in my humble opinion, dethrone them as most awesome super family ever. Because Mr. and Mrs. Parr, in both their civilian life and as superheroes, each have their own near perfection when it comes to how they handle stuff. The kids, they've obviously evolved from their previous incarnations, but they're still the same characters. Dash is impulsive. Violet, who I think should either be called Blink or Bubbles, is not paranoid. She's kind of a spaz, but in a good way. And Jack Jack is so precocious, especially when it becomes a weapon of mass destruction. Seriously, are you seeing the laser eyes? Then, of course, there are the side characters. Sam Jackson is Frozone, still cool and smooth. Edna Mode, who I think is voiced by a guy, still kind of crazy like she was in the first film, but it's a little more subdued. I would have liked a little bit more Edna Mode, but what we did get was very good. The villain, I can't really spill the beans on that person because that would be too much of a spoiler, but rest assured, they are both unabashedly, unapologetically evil, but they have a legitimate grievance. Once again, we are given a villain with layers. And at times, you understand where they're coming from, but you also know the ends don't justify the means. And while I do sympathize with that particular person, what they're doing is still 50 kinds of wrong. The side characters, they basically are blink and you'll miss them, but if you don't blink, you get treated to fairly decent, quickly established characters. Hopefully, the franchise will branch off into maybe a couple of spin-offs surrounding these side characters, because I kind of want to know more about them. As for the look of the whole movie, I would call it 1950s in the modern age. The whole thing looks like a 50s style sci-fi hero film, and sounds like it too, with the overly dramatic, campy music. But it at the same time feels modern. Like, say we didn't have quite as much technology as we do today, but it's still the modern age. And while the runtime was a bit long, it's about 2 hours, it could have been trimmed to here and there. In this case, it's not too much of a bother because this movie played it like the tortoise against the hare. Slow and steady won the race. Hopefully we won't have to wait another 14 years for Incredibles 3, but if they put this much quality, if they put as much quality as they did time into the third installment as they did in this one, I'm thinking people are going to consider this the best trilogy of movies since the original Star Wars trilogy. I don't know what else to say except it was incredible. This is Mr. J signing out and reminding you, just because there are superheroes doesn't mean that makes the average person weaker. The superheroes do all the heavy lifting and lead by example. Remember that.